Is it time to panic about the Eagles' passing attack? On the surface, the Eagles' passing game has looked out of sync, performing below expectations for a star-studded group through the first 2 weeks. The Eagles are 29th in passing yards, 15th in quarterback rating, 20th in yards per attempt, and are tied for 9th most in sacks allowed. Frustration has clearly mounted among parts of the Eagles fan base, and questions about offensive coordinator Brian Johnson have become prevalent. But when you look at the film and take the bigger picture into account, there are a lot of positives to take away. In their Week 2 game against the Vikings, the Eagles' offense was matched up against a well-respected defensive mind of Brian Flores, and he did some unique things in this game. Flores is known for bringing pressure, and he didn't shy away from that this game either, blitzing Jalen on 17 of his 32 dropbacks. They used a few different pressure schemes, but their most common one was their 6-man blitz package. Usually when you get 6-man pressure schemes where the defense is sending 6 defenders at the quarterback, the defense plays man coverage behind it. But for the majority of the night, Flores decided to play zone coverage instead. You see this much more commonly in the high school and college ranks, where 3 deep, 2 under, 6-man pressure schemes, also known as hot pressures, are becoming more and more popular. He ran this variation a few times, but most often it appeared that Flores was using a modified 2-read coverage. 2-read is zone coverage with match principles, meaning the defenders will play their coverage based on the progressions of the routes they are seeing. 2-read is a cover 2 based concept, sometimes referred to as palms, cloud, nail, and a plethora of other names. Typically, this play is not run with the blitz, but in general, the corner and safety are reading the release of the number 2 receiver. If he goes outside quickly, such as on a flat or a bubble route, the corner will take the number 2 receiver and the safety will play over top of the number 1. If the number 2 receiver releases vertical, then the safety will take number 2 and the corner will lock onto number 1. Note that what designates what is considered vertical will vary from team to team. If the number 2 releases inside, the corner will take the number 1 receiver. Usually, if the number 2 receiver releases inside, then the safety will let him go to the underneath defenders and he'll look to stay over top of the number 1 receiver or look to the opposite side of the field to rob any potential routes coming back across. This is an interesting concept to run because a lot of teams' answers to the blitz will be bubble routes and other quick throws to the flats. Running this coverage puts a corner there ready to make plays. Since this is a blitz, there is only one underneath defender, and he's playing a poach technique. He is reading the eyes of the quarterback. Since this is a 6-man pressure, the ball should be coming out quickly, and this defender is looking to take away the offense's hot throws. This is the first play of the game, and the Eagles run one of their bread and butter route combinations. It is a smash variation with the inside receiver running a corner route and the outside receiver running a 5-yard end route. The vertical route by AJ clears the safety to allow Devontae's space underneath. Both Jalen and Devontae do a great job reading and understanding the leverage and space. The corner is leveraged outside, and there is a lot of green grass between the safety and next closest inside defender. With the corner and outside leverage, you would expect him to be funneling the receiver inside to help, coming from somewhere, so Devontae knows to settle his route down. Jalen is on the same page with him and quickly delivers a perfect strike on time. I talked about the poach defender reading the eyes of the quarterback. Notice here how he gets from the middle of the field to within 5 yards of Devontae while not breaking vision on the quarterback one time. He is able to do this because he read the drop and angle of Jalen's shoulders. The 3-step drop is an indication that it's going to be a quick throw, and Jalen's shoulders are almost parallel to the line of scrimmage. With his shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage, he can't make any deep throws or throws over the middle until he resets his feet and points his shoulders more downfield. The safety knows this ball is going to the flat, even though he hasn't looked at the receiver's routes at all. He's not worried about the back releasing to the flat, which left the defense with 2 defenders guarding 3 players, because he knows that if the back releases instead of blocks, the defense is going to have a free rusher at the quarterback since they only have 5 guys to block 6 rushers. Jalen doesn't have time to look from one side of the field back to the other, and the poach defender knows this, so he's going to play the side of the field that Jalen opens up to first. This was a great play by the safety, but better chemistry and timing by Jalen and Devontae resulted in a catch. Keep in mind, the Vikings didn't show this at all last week, and in the 3 games I watched of the Dolphins from Brian Flores' time there as head coach in 2021, I didn't see this coverage as well. This was a new look for the Eagles offense. The Vikings ran this play 4 more times in a row, and on the 5th play, the Eagles had a counter. From a 2x2 look, they ran AJ and Devontae on vertical routes with check releases from the tight ends on either side. Remember, in 2-read, the corners are responsible for number 2 releasing underneath and outside, so the tight ends releasing to the flat draws the corners down, isolating AJ and Devontae on safeties. I'll take AJ and Devontae one-on-one with the safety any day of the week. This is the 5th play of the game, which is normally a time of the game where you're running your opening plays, but I think Brian Johnson decided to go with the counterpunch, considering this was the 5th time in a row the Vikings ran the same play. This was a quick adjustment by Brian Johnson. The Eagles continually attacked the open space inside of the corner and underneath the safety when they got this look, using a route to clear out space or just by running a curl underneath the safety. My favorite play, though, was this pass to AJ that just missed. The Vikings are running the same pressure concept, and the Eagles are running a slant and go by AJ with the whip route from Olamide Zaccheaus in the slot. With the number 2 receiver initially going inside, the corner takes number 1. Yes, he comes back outside, but in match coverage, the initial declaration of the route is usually what determines the coverage of the defenders. So since the receiver goes inside initially, the corner is locking onto the number 1 receiver. The Eagles take advantage of the fact that a defense running a 6-man pressure is expecting the ball to come out quickly. The corner takes a bait on the slant and AJ is open, but they just miss. You can judge if it was pass interference. This was also good pocket awareness from Jalen. He feels a rusher come up high, so he steps up and to the left, putting the blocker in between himself and the pass rusher. Even though this play was incomplete, this was a great play call that Brian Johnson dialed up against a look they had not seen before. These plays will hit, and Johnson's endgame adjustments here were an encouraging sign. Was every play against the blitz perfect? No. The Eagles took 2 sacks, but overall, the Eagles handled the Vikings blitz well, completing 9 of 12 passes for 154 yards, 1 touchdown, and a passer rating of 144. This is definitely encouraging considering it was a short week, and the Eagles' offense struggled against the blitz a fair amount in week 1 and last year. The Vikings paired their blitz with a couple other strategies to confuse an offense and try to set up big plays. On the first play of the second drive, the Vikings switched from their blitz-heavy approach of the first drive to run cover 2. Notice the alignment of the secondary though. It is a very similar look pre-snap to what they showed when they blitzed every play of the first drive. The corner up top is playing a trap technique, trying to jump a quick throw, hoping the Eagles are fooled into thinking that the defense is blitzing again. But Jalen recognizes the defense and the space that the corner opened up and takes a shot to Goddard. The throw may have been a little wide, but when you look at the tight view, it's in Goddard's hands with 2 feet in bounds. It's a tough catch, yes, but this is a tight window, and if there's anywhere you'd want to put that ball, it's outside. I've seen Goddard make a ton of catches harder than that, but this is another near miss. Also notice how the Vikings only rushed 3 guys and dropped 8 defenders into coverage. The Vikings had a plan all night to try to confuse Jalen and the offense. They aligned pre-snap in ways that made it difficult to distinguish if they were going to send the house or if they were going to drop into coverage. Their most successful defense was their drop 8 coverages. The Vikings ran cover 2 or cover 3, where they would drop an extra defender into coverage on 12 plays against the Eagles. They pretty much either blitzed the house or played a prevent defense and declared that they weren't going to get beat deep. Against drop 8, the Eagles completed 9 of 10 passes. However, they only gained 39 yards and took 2 sacks in the process. It's not a new thing for Flores to drop 8, as the Dolphins were 7th in the NFL in 2021 in the amount of 3-man rushes they used, but that averaged out to 3.7 times a game, not 12 like the Eagles faced. The strategy paired well with the Vikings' pressure scheme, as often it resulted in the running back staying in to block in case they blitzed. If you're going to beat drop 8 coverages, you need to be able to get 5 guys out and a route on a consistent basis. Only having 4 players running a route gives the defense a big numbers advantage. From a passing perspective, the Eagles will need to work on their strategy against teams that want to drop 8 guys into coverage. With how well it worked against the Eagles, I wouldn't be surprised to see more teams go to that strategy throughout games. It'll be a new look as the Eagles face drop 8 coverages on just 28 plays last year. But I'm not at all concerned by the Eagles' offense or the change in offensive coordinators. This is a new year, and teams are going to be throwing different looks at the Eagles. Whatever they tried last year wasn't working. This is a natural progression for teams as their passing game becomes feared in the NFL. We've seen teams throw this at the Chiefs and attempt to slow down their passing attack. Cincinnati used a 3-man rush on 19 plays against Mahomes the year that the Bengals captured the AFC title. The Chiefs struggled, only gaining 77 yards with 4 sacks and 1 interception on those plays. But guess what? They came back the next year and their offense was far and away the most dominant in the NFL. Teams came up with different ways to slow them down, but they implemented their adjustments and they got right back on track to being a top offense. I expect the Eagles will face similar challenges. They were the top dog in the NFC and minutes away from being the best team in the NFL. Teams are going to try coming up with new ways to slow down the Eagles' attack. I'm confident the Eagles will make their adjustments as well. I don't think the Eagles came into the game expecting to call design runs 44 times, but they saw what the Vikings were doing with their personnel, fronts, and coverage, and decided to adjust their strategy. Brian Johnson was a former quarterback. I think he probably wants to throw the ball around some, but to see him have the patience and discipline to continue running the ball over and over and over again, because that was the best strategy to counter Flores' approach, is a huge positive to take away. Being able to counter an unscouted pressure scheme by the 5th play of the game while continuing to add wrinkles in the passing game throughout, again, again, another plus for the OC. We're still in the early part of the season, where teams have yet to find their identity, and fans are sure to overreact. Last year, the Bengals started 0-2 before finishing one penalty away from playing in the Super Bowl, while the Buccaneers started 2-0 before having a season so bad that it made Tom Brady retire. And on top of that, this was a short week where the Eagles didn't even have a full practice. They ran their most basic, foundational plays over and over, and still racked up over 430 yards. I think we'll begin to see some more creative looks and new designs from both the offense and defense now that we got past this quick turnaround in the season. But there were good things to take away from this game, and even though the Eagles didn't have a huge night in the passing game when you look at the numbers, they were close on a few plays and had other explosive plays as well. This passing attack is primed to explode, and when it does, you'll forget all about the Eagles' early season struggles.